Hey everybody. Hey guys. Welcome to weekly live Q&A, and my name is Athena, and this is a community of adult survivors of trauma. If you are here and you are in a place where you are looking for safe support, this is for adult survivors of any type of abuse. So any type of childhood trauma, trafficking, cult abuse, religious abuse, physical, verbal, emotional. We come here every single week and we spend time together, and you guys have questions and I do my very best to answer your questions. So we are going to be only together tonight for a little bit less than an hour. I have an appointment that I need to drive to directly, like the moment we end tonight. So I'm going to end just a little bit before the top of the hour. So we'll be together for about 40 minutes or so. And I really quickly just want to thank you guys for sending in so many awesome questions. Let's see. I have Heroes Don't Wear Capes, Sarah, Angela, Kira. Oh my goodness, I have more. John Harvey, Monica, Feral Hen, Angela, Marilena, Julie, Shelly, Katie Lee, Melissa, Hunter, Stacy the Sparkling Star, and there are so many more of you that are here and that you've already sent in your questions. So I'm trying something different tonight. Normally I'm leaning up and I'm needing to wear my glasses, and trying to adjust my glasses, and I have an eye appointment tomorrow. My glasses aren't strong enough for me to see you guys the way I've been seeing you. And so I'm using my phone today in an effort to see better so that I can not be squinting and straining my eyes so much. So tomorrow I have an eye appointment and I'm very excited. It was the earliest I could get in. I'm just like, this is nonsense. I went from being able to record just looking at you normal to I can't see anything. I need to wear my glasses and my glasses aren't strong enough. So I'm just going to do my best and read your guys' questions off of the app tonight. And I just want to thank you guys for being here. Really quickly, ooh, I can pull up my brief public service announcements on my phone also. Don't you love it when everything talks to one another and you can be connected? Isn't it wonderful? I'm feeling also a little self-conscious tonight. I'm using a different microphone because the audio was sort of cutting in and out. And then, okay. So can you tell I'm a little flustered? You guys, this is real. It's live. Hello. Welcome to real life. So I'm doing my absolute best, you guys. I'm just doing my best. We're all just here doing the best we can, and that just is going to need to be good enough, right? Right. So really quickly, welcome. Welcome. And if you guys are over on Twitter, send some tweets and some love to anybody using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. This weekly video has sort of morphed from originally a Twitter chat. And so I know that most of our family that was over on Twitter is now here in the YouTube chat box, and it's just sort of evolved organically in that way. So, but if you guys are on Twitter and you want to copy and paste the suicide prevention information and the crisis text lines that I have there in the chat box on YouTube, and you want to tweet that out using the hashtag #NoMoreShame, that would be amazing. But welcome, welcome. Hashtag #NoMoreShame, live Q&A, adult survivors of child abuse, incest, human trafficking, narcissistic abuse, complex trauma, cult abuse, anyone living with CPTSD symptoms or PTSD symptoms. If you're looking to receive support, share support, and acquire new, healthier skills, then you've landed in an excellent place. What questions do you have regarding crafting our trauma narrative and how that helps us, and then we shift our perspective into a healthier narrative that isn't one that re-triggers us into our trauma? So what questions do you have on that topic? Send them in within just the next couple minutes if you have questions. And if you've already sent them in last week, I'm going to be answering questions from last week also, doing my very best. And even better, besides questions, what wisdom can you share? What comments and wisdom can you share with our community regarding crafting our trauma narrative and shifting our perspective? So I would love to hear your wisdom. I am not the wise one here. I just happen to be the one that starts the video every week, and I show up and I read your questions, and then I do my best to answer your questions. So I would love to hear from you. Take a few moments and read the video description, by the way. If you're here for the live discussion, read the video description briefly so you know what direction the conversation is going in. And just thank you. Thank you guys for being here. This video is for anyone that I've already mentioned, and if you're a cyberbully or you have nothing better to do than torment people that are here to heal from trauma and pick on me for my voice, my mannerisms, my hair color, and a myriad of other things that you can't stand about me, then you can just leave. This video is not for you. Go find a wonderful YouTuber that you love and that you don't feel the need to criticize, because I've had it about up to here with all of the criticism, honestly. Like, usually I can just sort of like let it bounce off, but it's getting really old and I'm kind of sick of it. So moving on, and no more criticism, please. And as a reminder, this chat and this video, if you're watching the replay, is not intended to be therapeutic service or a diagnosis. If you want or need therapy, please seek out a qualified, experienced professional. These videos are never a substitute for professional medical care. I am not a doctor, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. All the videos on this channel are shared from a lived experience coaching perspective. I share the research that I've conducted and my healing journey over the past 17 years. And that's what these videos are. So, trigger warning, tonight's video and the chat are going to be discussing abuse, trafficking, healing from CPTSD, and oftentimes the questions sent in by our audience members are quite graphic in detail. So please be kind to yourself. Step away from the chat and the video if you're triggered in any way. And if you're in crisis now or you need care, please dial 911 or reach out to our friends over at RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. You can call them if you're in the United States at 1-800-656-HOPE, H-O-P-E, or you can simply log on to their website, rainn.org. And if you prefer to text, you can reach out to our friends at the crisistextline.org by texting the word START to 741-741. And then a conversation on your phone will start, and they will ask how they can help you. And then you can share via text message. Text rates do apply. Standard text messaging rates do apply. And then for suicide prevention support, because we're all about preventing suicide, please copy and paste the info that I have shared in the YouTube chat box. Tweet it, share it on Facebook, share it here in the chat box. Keep it on your clipboard ready for anyone that might be in crisis or stumbles upon us on YouTube and they are just in need of a resource, right? And you can also reach out for suicide prevention support at 1-800-273-8255 or by logging on to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And please take a moment now, like I said, and tweet that information. That would be amazing. And then if you're here for the live discussion, it always helps for more survivors to see the resources that I put out on this channel by giving this video a thumbs up if it has been helpful thus far, and if you think it might be helpful for you, or if you enjoy our community, give this video a thumbs up. Share this video, share this link over on Twitter, share it on Facebook. Invite people to our weekly free live Q&As. And many thanks to our newest intern, Lisa. And as always, thank you to Matt and Jody and Kalisha and Harriet and Heather and Dawn and Jack and Poppy and all of you guys, all of the amazing volunteers that make this possible every single week. So again, tonight's topic is going to be triggering, and for anyone who has experienced abuse of any kind during childhood or in adulthood, please reach out and get the support you need, because we're worth it. You deserve it. And please remember, anyone who arrives here for the first time tonight or who is coming back after being here previously, they do deserve unconditional acceptance and love, and to not be judged by us. We don't know anyone's circumstances. We don't know anyone's pain. We don't know where they're at right now. We don't know how they were raised. We don't know the ridicule. We don't know the struggles. We don't know anything about anybody. So please be unconditionally loving and accepting to anyone and everyone that shows up here. Unless, of course, they're a troll, specifically potato trolls, because we just block them. So if you do choose to be unkind to others, you're going to be blocked. We'll place you in timeout, and we'll just otherwise remove you, and I'll just block you, and none of your comments will show up on the channel, and you'll just go away. So, but I'm committed to maintaining an environment of love and acceptance and kindness on this channel and in our groups, of course, and we're worthy of that. So, again, in order for this to be a safe environment, this place is not crisis care. And thanks for being here. And if you guys want daily vlogs, I'm starting a daily vlog channel. And that is, the link is in the description down below. If you guys are interested in daily vlog type videos that are supportive and encouraging, then it's youtube.com/ I think it's /C, or is it /user / mostly Athena? Anyway, just search YouTube for mostly Athena, because it's just mostly me, and I'm just going to be recording videos. And it would be really awesome if you subscribe to that channel, and I'll be and then click the bell for notifications, because I'll be starting to put up content on that channel pretty soon. There's already 150 of you guys that have subscribed, because you're amazing. So thank you. And that's about it for any type of housework, housekeeping items, so that we can enjoy our time together. But really quickly, let me just see what's going on with you guys. Oh no, there's feedback. Oh, oh no. Hey guys, is the feedback still happening? If it is, then I'll unplug the microphone. Oh no. Let me know if it's really bad. Oh boy, I'm going to try not to move around. Hope I'm not moving. I'll try not to move. Okay. Sorry, guys. Oh goodness, there's like 40 of you here already. Awesome. You guys were a little light on attendance because it's holiday week, right? Thanksgiving's coming up. Okay, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be answering your guys' questions from last week. Please, if you have any questions tonight, I'll do my best to get to them. We are starting a new series next week on the topic of habits to live by. So, and we're going to be discussing, as survivors, how can we learn about and implement healthy or healthier habits into our daily life so that we can feel better and we don't feel triggered and we don't struggle in our relationships and struggle in our finances, struggle in our physical health with weight gain, weight loss, stamina, lethargy. We're going to discuss just the healthy habits all around in our life, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, healthy habits, how to learn them and how to implement them on a regular basis so that we can feel better. So that's going to be a series beginning next week. If that interests you, then come on back. That would be amazing. I would love to have you guys back here. And if this is your first time here and you're new to our channel, I want to welcome you, and I want to tell you that you're welcome here and we're excited to see you. And any comments that you do leave below the videos after the live stream, I do get those throughout the week, and I do my best to like them and heart them and respond to them. But it's been kind of a crazy week, you guys. So I will do my best. So last week we ended on We ended on Sarah Hope. Oh no, we did. Last week we ended on on Heroes Don't Wear Capes comment regarding perfectionism. And then we're starting this week's video off with a question from Monica Shields regarding her narcissistic mother and her codependent father. And they want her to let them back into her life. So Monica says, I just ask, where were you when I needed you, when I was a child? What do you think? So Monica says, my narcissistic mother, my codependent father, they want back into my life. I just asked them, where were you when I needed you when I was a child? So, and then she says, what do you think, Athena? So first of all, I think that's painful. And I think that so many of us we resonate with that. We know what that feels like. And for those of you who are not familiar with narcissistic parents, perhaps Harriet, if you could pop up the card for the narcissistic parents video, and also a card for the intergenerational family dysfunction video. So what happens when a narcissistic father or narcissistic mother and a codependent father guilt us or want us to let them back into our lives, and then we respond in a human way by saying, well, where were you when I was younger? And no, basically, we are responding in a human way. And depending on their level of dysfunction, their level of toxicity, if in fact they are personality disordered, or if they just have some pronounced narcissistic traits or some very pronounced toxic traits, depending on the level of dysfunction, then we respond in a human way. We need to keep in mind that it is likely when parents are emotionally unavailable when we're younger, that unless it is a spiritual revival in their life or a life-threatening illness, usually those are the only two things that sort of flip that switch for them and cause them to be able to be emotionally available for us and become different people. So again, the two things, like a spiritual revival, like a supernatural experience in their life, whether that's angels or they feel as though they've achieved enlightenment through Eastern philosophy, if they are born again in an Abrahamic religion, if they become Christians. Many people have transformational, spiritual, miraculous conversions, if you will, in their life. And that can flip a switch for them. And they can begin becoming that parent that we always needed. Or they have a life-threatening illness and they begin contemplating their identity. And so then they want to make up for what they know that they sort of missed out on. I think that was the noise. That I'm going to keep it still now. Sorry about that. So, Monica, unless your parents have a supernatural, miraculous experience in their life that you notice has changed every facet of their being, like their entire life is different and they're showing up differently in the world for other people, or they've had sort of like a brush with death and they're contemplating their own mortality, I, as the person that is here to support you, I cannot support you in hoping or wishing that you're going to receive something different from them than you did when you were younger. And that is a hard thing to hear, process, receive, and implement and remember in our lives. because we are human and we have empathy and compassion and we feel things deeply and we have needs and desires and we have a longing for that love and acceptance and approval and kindness that we did not receive when we were younger. If we are dealing truly with a narcissistic mother, those are things that we are in desperate need of. And so I would caution you to hold out hope that you will receive anything. I think your response, which is, no, I'm not letting you back into my life. Where were you when I was younger? I think it's a healthy response as long as you're really not looking for an answer. As long as that question is a rhetorical question and you're simply spewing rhetoric at them in response to them benignly saying, you know, well, you're so ungrateful, why don't you let us back into your life? We're your parents, you know, like if that's kind of what's going on. So it's very painful for me to say those things out loud because I know how devastating and soul destroying they can be. But I do want you to know that you're in good company and you're not alone in this, Monica. Myself and dozens, if not hundreds, of those that are healing in our safe groups, as you know, many of them had narcissistic mothers, borderline fathers, or, you know, codependent, enabling parents when one parent was overtly abusive or covertly abusive and the other parent enabled that, or the siblings enabled it. So I hope that you are able to receive some comfort in knowing that I hear you, I feel you, and I agree with you in that, like, where were you when I was younger? I deserved that love that I did not receive from you, and I don't need that from you anymore. Guarding yourself and guarding your heart is the healthiest possible solution, and I'm super glad that that's what you're doing. So I hope that's been helpful. Angela says, my question tonight is, I've come to a point where I feel I need to cut off from my abusive family, but somehow I feel like I need to notify them of it. So this is so interesting. I've had, you're like the third person in a week that said something like this to me, Angela. A couple of my clients are in situations with the holidays coming up. There is Hanukkah coming up for one of my clients who is of Jewish faith, and another family member who always celebrates winter holidays with their family. And they're kind of at that point in their life where they're thinking about not attending anymore. But for someone, like I said, if there's a close religious or spiritual tie, makes it really difficult because the abusive other, whether it's a parent, sibling, family of origin, aunt, uncle, cousin, you name it, they use the religion or they use the family tradition to sort of shame you into showing up. But you saying that you've come to a point where you feel you need to cut off from your abusive family, and that you kind of feel like you need to like let them know, like put them on notice, like, by the way, I'm definitely not going to be showing up anymore, and I don't want contact with you anymore. Coming from a person, Angela, who took this approach and thinking that I was doing the right thing, it's because all you know is all you know. The short answer is you could be wasting your breath by letting them know. It's not going to make any difference. In fact, it could make your life a lot harder. Let me explain why. So if you're dealing with someone, you've mentioned here that your family is abusive. Now, I don't know to the degree that they're abusive, if they are personality disordered, if they're in one of the clusters. I don't know if they're on some sort of a spectrum of some sort of disorder. I don't know if they are overtly abusive versus covertly abusive. I'm not sure what exactly are the nuances that you're dealing with here, but I do know this. A toxic, overtly or overtly abusive family member that you believe to be either sadistic or psychopathic or in nature, or lacking empathy, lacking compassion, lacking a moral compass, lacking a conscience, you notifying them is simply like, it's like a game to them. Like, what they'll do is they'll use that against you. Because what they do is they see us notifying them, and what they do is they go, huh, they honestly think that's going to work. I'll make sure that doesn't work. And they'll do whatever they can to like garner sympathy from you and turn you into the bad guy. And so I mentioned this to a client today, and I'm going to share this with you guys. What happens with malignantly personality disordered individuals, if they're in the cluster B, is they take our humanity that we just ooze of, we ooze of humanness and compassion, and they see our idiosyncrasies as weaknesses, and they are like, oh, like, silly human, oh, that's funny, you think you're going to notify me that you're not going to be in touch with me anymore, like, that's hilarious. And then what they do is they either, rule of thumb, need to be the hero, the biggest hero, not just a hero, but like the hero of the event, the hero of the home, the hero of the ball, the hero of the charity, the hero of the work project, the hero. And if they cannot be the hero, they will be the biggest victim, either the biggest hero or the biggest victim. And so the way that works is when you put your family on notice, or you notify them that you would like to step back and establish and maintain some healthy boundaries, that's very human of you to do that. And if they are malignantly personality disordered or extremely toxic, depending on where they are on the toxicity scale, they will use your notifying them. They will use that to garner sympathy from tons of other people in the family. Flying monkeys. They'll begin to triangulate you. They'll begin to launch a smear campaign and tell everyone how horrible and sad they are that you have decided not to be in touch with them. And all they did, I did my best. I did my best to raise her. I did my best. Like, here we did. We provided a roof over her head and food for her mouth, and we clothed her, and we took care of her. We were always there for her when she was in the hospital and when she needed a car, and we did all these things. Like, those are just things that parents do for kids, right? But they use all those things to build up the pile of things that they did that mean that they deserve to receive everything from you, to basically justify them being involved in your life, regardless of how abusive they are. So that's the long version. The short version is you notifying them is going to do very little good if they are truly extremely toxic, depending on where they're at on the toxicity scale. They will see it as a weakness, and they'll kick you when you're down. They'll see that you care enough to notify them, and they'll use that to stab you. And because they know that you're telling them because you just want to let them know, you just want to do the right thing. You just want to do the right thing. Is they'll use that against you and make you look bad to as many people as you care about. Let's say you only care about a handful of people in your life. They'll make you look bad to that handful of people if you notify them that you're going to be stepping away and establishing some healthy boundaries, if they are in fact as toxic as I'm thinking they might be, but I don't really know. So I hope that helps. It's in theory and in humanity, letting someone know and having a healthy level of communication, super awesome, super good idea. But if we're dealing with a toxic individual, they play by a different set of rules, and they use anything they can to gain intel so that they can launch a campaign against us or basically cause us to feel bad. And then when we feel bad enough, we'll come back. They'll even say it out loud and predict it. Like, this is just a phase you're going through. Like, you can't live without us. No one's going to love you the way we do. No one is going to put up with you. No one is going to love you the way that your family loves you. So good luck with, not letting us in your life and stepping away and, sort of having some distance. Like, good luck with that, because out there in the real world, no one's going to love you. No one's going to care about you, and you'll be back in no time. And so then what happens? They plant that seed. And so you begin showing up in the world looking for evidence that what they said was true, and you'll always find it. You'll find ways to be like, I knew it. I knew that my friend, I wanted to have healthy boundaries in my family, and I knew I shouldn't have done it. They even said that no one else would love me. I knew it. Because like you reached out to like a colleague at work and you're like, hey, let's meet up for coffee, or like, let's go have cocktails or something. And then something happens and your friend is like deathly ill with the flu, or has like something happen in the family, or they're just not feeling up to going out. And then every single thing that happens from now on, like in your whole life, will be evidence to what they predicted, which is no one's going to love you the way your family loves you. No one's going to care about you. You'll be back in no time. Sure, you want like healthy boundaries and you want to just let us know that we're not going to be close anymore, but that's not going to last. And, you know, you guys, it's just something that they do. It's just something that they do. And it's, I tell every one of my clients, and I'm going to tell you guys this, resist the urge to notify your toxic family members, because notifying is a human trait, and you're not dealing with someone, if they are sadistic or lacking a conscience, lacking empathy, lacking humanness, if they're psychopathic, sociopathic, narcissistic in nature, depending on where they're at in that, they're just going to use that as ammunition against you, and it's really painful when they do that. So, and it can really mess with your head for years, sometimes decades, because they'll plant seeds of doubt in your heart and in your mind. And then anytime you go through a level of rejection or someone being emotionally unavailable for you in your life forever and ever, it confirms, well, I knew my family was right. I was foolish to ever step away. They were right. No one's ever going to love me the way they love me. I should have just stayed in contact with them. Now I have no one. And that's all not true. Let me tell you how not true that is. Because I was told those things, and they're lies. Because I now have people who love me for who I am, and they like me for who I am, and they don't need me to fit into some pretty little box or be perfect or wear a certain, you know, shade of like, you know, makeup, or dress a certain way, or act a certain way, or talk a certain way, or stay silent, or stay invisible, or be seen and not heard. The messages I received from toxic loved ones or family members that said that no one would ever love me the way they do. In fact, I had a very close interpersonal relationship of mine that was very abusive and toxic, actually. And he did tell me, you know, you're used up. Like, you will literally never find anyone ever again. Look at you. Like, look at you. You're disgusting. You're ugly, and you have bad skin, and like you're overweight, and all the girls your age, I mean, they have way better bodies than you do. I mean, you had a baby. So, like, seriously, you'll never find anyone. And I believed it, just so you know. 19 years old. I believed every word of that. I believed it for almost 20 years. So take it from me, if anyone ever says to you, no one's going to love you the way I do, no one's going to care about you, if anyone ever says that to you, they're lying. Because it's typically anyone that's, first of all, anyone that's healthy and whole is never going to say that to another living being. Because why would you? So it's already a red flag when someone says that to you. And then secondly, it's a lie. Because here I am living a very whole, beautiful life, surrounded by colleagues and clients and friends and loved ones that like me for who I am. Yeah, I have down days, I have low days. And I'm going through therapy, like still. I'm going through EMDR, and, you know, I'm healing. But people love me, and people like me. And I don't have to bend myself to fit into their situation and then sacrifice myself on the altar of their approval while they basically scoop my guts out and fill me with whatever lies they want me to carry around, and, you know, a need for their approval, and a need for their affection, and a need for their love. I don't have that anymore. So, yeah, that was a long rant. Feral Hen says, I feel fake about paying attention to myself. For example, If I start dancing, I'm like, who are you to enjoy yourself? I feel like paying attention to myself is phony. It's really hard to explain. This is definitely, even though it's hard to explain, feral hen, I want you to know that it's very common. It's not uncommon in the survivor community for anyone who has experienced early childhood trauma to feel unreal or fake or phony or feel like an imposter, like they're just showing up and like they're not even a real person. They're just this imposter version. And like, who do you think you are, right? And I typically don't do this on this channel, but I'm gonna go ahead and share something that's very mainstream that you can find anywhere online, and it's about Oprah Winfrey. So, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you, feral hen, I have no idea if you hate Oprah. And every time I mention celebrities, I get freaking hate mail. Like, I can't believe you would mention that person. Stop mentioning people. Like, I can't just talk about myself and about, like, I can't just sit here and talk and have to monitor my speech constantly out of paranoia, because the channel will become very uncomfortable and it will not be fun to watch because I'll be paranoid all the time. So I'm just going to talk about Oprah for a second, feral hen. So Oprah is probably one of the most well-adjusted individuals by most standards. She was sexually abused as a child by her, I believe it was her uncle. She walked around living her life with imposter syndrome into her adult life. She felt like an imposter every single day of her life, including the day that she saw herself on television. She was standing in her kitchen, her abuser's kitchen, making him food. And she saw herself on television. And she stood there and she looked at the television, and I'm ad-libbing this, of course, but you can Google this, Snopes it, Google it, do whatever you like. But she thought to herself, I bet everyone's thinking, who does she think she is? All fancy on the television. Who does she think she is? She had family members. Who does she think she is? And she stood there in the kitchen making, I think she said it was eggs on the stove for her abuser who sexually abused her as a child. And here she was, an adult, still allowing him to be in her life. And she pushed the pan off of the flame. She turned off the stove. She left the food on the stove. And she walked out of that house. And as the story goes, she went, I believe that day was a turning point in her life. She went from standing there thinking, I know everyone's thinking, who does she think she is? That was like the tape that played in her head over and over and over. And that day, something shifted. She said, from there on out, I stood there and I said, this is who I am. And she owned it. She owned her brilliance. She owned the hard work that she had put in. She refused to let her abusers and the enablers control her destiny and stop her from living a good life. And I tell you that story, feral hen, because she had imposter syndrome. And if I've ever seen anyone in my entire life that's not an imposter, it's Oprah. People go around wishing that they were Oprah because they feel like imposters. Like, oh, one day I'll be like Oprah. You know, I'll really be comfortable in my own skin. How can Oprah be so comfortable in her own skin? Oprah struggles with her weight, but she still seems so comfortable in her own skin. Oprah's black, and yet she still seems so comfortable in her own skin. Oprah struggled with her hair. Oprah struggled with body image issues. Oprah struggled with Oprah struggled in climbing a corporate ladder. Oprah. Everybody talks about Oprah. And yet, the end of that conversation is always, and look at her. She looks so comfortable in her own skin. But yet Oprah was plagued by feeling fake, feeling phony. Who am I? Who am I to think I'm so fancy on the television? Like, who does she think she is? That's the voice, right? And so I'm telling you, feral hen, if Oprah can do it, we can do it. If Oprah can decide not to let those voices win, then I can sit here in my living room on my computer and not allow those voices to win. And I can help all of you guys believe that if Athena, who can barely string sentences together, and she plays with her hair the whole time, and you know, yada yada yada, and like all the negative things that people say to me, right? Those are my tapes, those are the voices I hear. If I can do this shit, you guys can do it. Like, seriously, go start your YouTube channel, Heal in Public, or go start that business, or go buy those tools you need to make the jewelry. Go learn how to take that class so that you can get really good at Excel, so that you can go into and be an accountant. Go back to school and get the degree that you didn't have. Go back to high school and get your GED. Go accomplish that goal. You know, go cultivate healthy friendships, healthy relationships. You know, go out and start that savings account that you've never started, because you keep saying that you're going to start a savings account and then you never do. Apply for that credit card. You know, take a leap of faith and go out and do the speed dating with one of your friends, as long as it's in a safe place. You know, decide that you're going to write that book that you've been wanting to write, or start that blog, or, you know, start that podcast, or reach out and make new friends. Like, if I can sit here and I can conquer all of my fears, having been through all the stuff, and if Oprah can do it, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying I'm anything like Oprah. I hope you guys don't think like, look at her over there comparing herself to Oprah. Like, do you hear the voices? Hello. So like, I'm saying that if she can do it, we can do it. And I know she likes to inspire others. So yeah, you're not alone, Feral Hen. And I feel like an imposter all the time. And I have clients that struggle with imposter syndrome all the time. And you know what? I know people who came from really healthy upbringings and who were really loved and cared for and provided for and encouraged and supported and liked and loved. And they don't struggle with imposter syndrome. They just don't. Sometimes people who grow up in healthy environments struggle with imposter syndrome if they're going after a really big goal. But for the most part, typically, imposter syndrome plagues those who experienced a lack of emotional or otherwise availability or love at a very young age. And so they were left to sort of wonder, like, who am I and what am I about? And what is the world about? Who am I? Do I fit in? Am I okay? Am I good? Am I bad? What am I good at? Do people like me? Am I enough? And so I just want you to know that we can overcome these fears. We can overcome those mindsets. We really can. And there's always hope. So if you're here and you're still watching, and you guys, if you could like tag the people I'm answering their questions, because man, you know, it's a week later and I'm getting to their questions. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Angela says, I feel like I need to let my abusers know that I don't want to have contact anymore. Is this okay? Do I need to let them know, or is it okay to just let go without saying anything? Let it go. Let it go. Like, seriously, let it go, because they'll use it against you. Like I was mentioning earlier, like, let it go. They'll use it against you. They really will, if they're toxic. Marilena says, I think it's good that abuse is being uncovered, but I think also a lot of abuse is still being covered up in the government, in Hollywood, etc. A little off subject. Yeah, it is important that we are uncovering things. And I agree that there are still things that are being covered up in Hollywood. And you guys, it's always going to be on a little bit of a spectrum, right? The truth is not necessarily always going to prevail. And a lot of people are heavily vested in no one finding out the truth about certain things, whether it's from a shame perspective or whether there are finances involved and people get sued. You know, there are statutes of limitations that haven't run out, and you know, so it's wonderful that we're uncovering things in the government, in Hollywood, and it's also wonderful that we're doing it here, just in the midst of our own community. But there will always be things that stay hidden, and such is life. Like, I don't mean to like minimize it because it's horrible, and it is horrible. But we can't control that. All we can control is sharing what we want to share and helping others. Like, do what we can do. You know what I mean? So, Julie says, I made the mistake of sharing my story. I'm assuming she means her trauma narrative, with my mother-in-law. She reacted predictably poorly, telling me that I should be over it by now. Well, I happen to have the honor and the privilege of knowing a little bit about Julie and a little bit about Julie's mother-in-law. And it doesn't surprise me that she responded that way. But I want you to know, Julie, that your story matters, and that being over it by now is up to the person. And I don't think any of us ever just truly get over it. I really don't think it works that way. And she's a little toxic and abusive in her own way. Obviously, that's the understatement of the decade. And I honestly, Julie, in an effort to protect your own well-being, not everybody deserves to hear your story. Save your story for those who are going to cheer you on. That's the best advice I can give you. Shelley says, I've been experiencing trauma flashbacks in way more detail than I expected. It's like getting hit. How can I slow these flashbacks? They are tough to handle. Thanks. So, depending on what type of flashbacks you're having, Shelley, if they are physical flashbacks, or even if they are emotional flashbacks, sometimes soaking our hands in ice water can be really helpful because it disengages our hypothalamus, a part of our brain. Also, there is a great online course by Layla Lorick and Richard, and it's titled How to Stop an Emotional Flashback. And it's very, 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 very helpful. I've been studying this for quite some time, for about the last year and a half, and it's I would need to spend a lot of time sort of explaining the different steps. But if you're able, in short, by the way, I have to go. So this is the last question. And I want to say I'm very, very, very sorry, sincerely apologize to Katie Lee and to Melissa and to Hunter and to Stacy the Sparkling Star, because I didn't get to your questions this week. So perhaps I'll answer your questions in our groups, if that's okay. If you're not in our groups, let me know, and then we'll get you plugged into our groups. But Shelley, if there's a way for you to, in the moment that you're having the flashback, or when you realize I'm in the middle of a flashback, if you can find a way to make your body physically comfortable, whether that's lying flat, if you're hot, make yourself cool, if you're cold, cover up, if you're hungry, eat something, if you're thirsty, drink something. When we're in a triggered state and we realize we're in a flashback, if there's anything physical that is lacking, if we address that physical concern immediately, and then we interrupt the pattern of whatever it is that we're in our normal everyday situation, like get up and go for a brief walk. And then the third thing is reaching out to another person and just sharing with them verbally what it is that you're going through, or typing in one of our groups, I'm experiencing this, and reaching out to another human that you know you're being heard. So not only have you dealt with your physical symptoms, and then you've got up and you've moved, so you've changed your blood pressure, right? You've changed your pulse and your blood pressure, so that's physiological. So it's physical, physiological, and then emotional. Reaching out to another person, making sure that you tell somebody what's going on, whether that's a text, a phone call, posting in the group, in some way. Kind of like Michelle Rosenthal, where in a PTSD flashback that's not a CPTSD flashback, where she says to say, stop, tap your left shoulder, tap your right shoulder, and then reach out and connect with someone. And you're able to disrupt that flashback. So that's the best way I know to interrupt a flashback. I'm not sure I know how to slow the flashbacks, but post-traumatic growth, Harriet, if you could pop up the link, the YouTube card for the video on post-traumatic growth. And then there's one on positive psychology also. those are things that, those are kind of things, Shelley, if you look into post-traumatic growth and positive psychology, those are things that sort of get stored away in our subconscious. And then they're in our toolbox and we automatically lean to them and use them in a time of being triggered. So I hope this has been helpful. I will do my best to either answer Katie's, Melissa's, Hunter's, and Stacy's questions next week briefly at the beginning as we move towards the new series on habits to live by, or in the groups. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I really, really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are the reason this community is so powerfully healing. So I also want to say thank you to Kimberly and to Jack and to Matt and to Yumsin for sending in questions, and I'll do my best to try to answer those next week or in our groups. And thank you for being the most important part of this community, because just by being here, it's validating the work that we're doing here on this channel. And it's supportive of our global community, which we're in over 180 countries. I don't know if you know that. And then one of our community members actually reached out this week, and she's going to be translating all of our resources into French. So I'm so excited for that. Over the course of 2018, I'm going to be, I need to respond to her. Ooh, dang it. I need to respond to her and let her know that I got her messenger message and that I will be messaging her and meeting with her so that we can do that in 2018. And I just remembered. So this is going to be loud and reverby. I'm sorry. So if you guys are not a fan of this like microphone situation, then I will just do my best. I didn't want to sit that far back and try to like talk and then have it be far away and you can't hear me. So I wore a new microphone, but I guess maybe it didn't work, or it worked, but it was loud and reverby. So I'm sorry. But thanks for being here, you guys. I'm so grateful for you. And I will see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. And we're starting a new series called Habits to Live By. So thank you so much. Bye.